right, welcome back to another episode of the Aaron Werner podcast on iCode Media. I am really excited today because I'm welcoming back a new friend, and well, now you're not new, you're a friend, Gian. We had Gian on a couple of months ago talking about setting goals. Gian is lucky and gets to work with John Acuff, but is super successful in his own right, as is evident by the Ironman plaque behind him. And so super excited to have you back. But before we jump into it, Gian, I understand since we last spoke, you undertook another little athletic feat.
Yeah.
How long was that race?
Yeah, 50 miles. It was in the battlefield of Bull Run in Northern Virginia. It was a little scary because we could hear the reenactment happening as you're running through the field. So it was as if 50 miles in 12 hours wasn't enough of a challenge. You had to deal with bombs shooting out in the air, and hopefully you don't get hit with anything. And we actually ran through a archery target practice area, and it said careful, arrows could be incoming. And I was like, I hope they told the archery club not to show up today,
Yeah.
So we didn't see any stray arrows coming at us, but we could hear the Civil War reenactment, which was pretty neat.
So I'm just processing that because I start my day and I look at my calendar and I say, well, I've got a lot of things back to back. I'm not sure where I'm going to eat. I got to figure out how to put a bathroom break in there somewhere. And maybe I'm, if I'm in clinic, they had to put in another patient, so we're a little bit double booked. But none of my days start with a warning like, watch out for arrows and bombs.
Maybe our brain internalizes all the stress that we feel, like bombs and arrows coming at us, but not actual
it absolutely does.
Physical arrows and bombs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was an interesting experience. If you told me 6 months ago, I would have finished a 50-mile race, I would have said you're nuts, right? But with all the work that we've been doing with John and the community and just breaking down big goals into small pieces has been tremendously. And sometimes, we were like, oh, I want to be this. And every day we compare ourselves to that final goal, we might feel like a failure, right? But if every day I just take one extra step towards that goal, guess what? In a few months, you can get to that goal, whatever that may be. So that was a cool experience. I don't think I'll do that for a while. Just because the training required to run 50 miles is a lot. And I have 2 young kids. My wife was very generous to let me do this one, but I told her the day after, we were having lunch together, and I said, I know what my next challenge is. And you could just see her face be like, oh no, I can't believe it,
Can't handle this anymore.
Yeah. But I told her in all seriousness, I said, during that race, when you're 12 hours by yourself, it's in the woods, you go through a lot of thinking. So I told her, I said, I kept thinking, what if I applied myself? What if I applied all these goals, strategies that I know now to becoming a better husband and father, right? Not that I'm a terrible father or husband, but like, how much could I maximize that goal if I actually broke it down into small things and didn't compare myself to the best father in the world, but every day try to do something better. And so that's always a struggle, obviously, with kids and a family. But that's what I've been focusing on now. So much so that I actually haven't exercised very much in the last month since the race.
Oh, wow.
Because every free time that I have now, I'm trying to spend with the family and trying to not be so self-focused on my own goals and try to help them out. So we just finished,
awesome.
we just finished a soccer season for the 2 kids. So that was cool to just sit on the sideline and watch them succeed, and score a bunch of goals and learn how to be good teammates. That was really nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, very cool. You said a couple of things that I want to dive into, and I really wanted to talk about today are the hurdles when, we've got a plan, we've set out goals. We talked about goals last time and how to overcome the challenges that when life happens, as you
Yeah.
Nicely put it. But I want to hit on first. You said when you were running, you had lots of time to think. And I remember back in my Ironman days and marathon days, same thing. There's lots of time to think.
Yeah.
And it's tying that to the All It Takes Is a Goal book, where the first activity John has us do is write down our best moments list.
Yeah.
And one, I don't think enough of us have enough time to, or dedicate enough time to think, right, to get in our own
Mm.
head. But two, I think one of the reasons is because that's a scary place to be, because you have
Oh,
to
no
face
doubt.
your demons. You've got to look at the skeletons in the closet. You've got to face reality. You've got to look that, hey, I wish I was here, but I'm really here,
Yeah.
and we're way too hard on ourselves. So that's I think we need to give ourselves more grace. But talk a
Yeah.
little bit more about the importance of that being in your own head, or meditation or reflection, or whatever we want to
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah. I'm as guilty as one could be in trying to entertain myself at all times, right? So I'm doing dishes, I have a podcast going on. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I go to the shower, I play music. Like, it's just something is always in my ear. And that's one of the practices that I've been trying to get better at, is just, can you just be like 5 minutes without any input, you know? And that is really hard for me, really, really hard. So much so that now I wake up really early so I can have some me time before my kids that also wake up really early, get out of bed. Um, and so one of the practices I've instituted is I just set a timer for 3 minutes on on my phone, and I just sit and be for 3 minutes with nothing on. And sometimes that goes really fast. Sometimes that goes by so slow.
So when
And
you say sit and be,
it,
you're not writing anything. You're just
no, no, I'm literally just sitting and staring at the wall. We have a little study at our house, and I'm just sitting on the couch with my cup of coffee, and there's no input whatsoever coming in. Um, there's a lot of thoughts coming in that I'm like, oh, what I need to do next, or what has happened the day before, but I'm always just trying to just almost like a little meditative practice there, but just trying to be silent with mostly no input coming from the outside, because like it's just constant, so constant, right?
yeah.
And so when you're running a race where they say no headphones, you start freaking out, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, you're doing the math, I can barely go on or take my dog for a walk without a podcast going on,
Yeah.
and now I have to be 12 hours in the woods without it. It becomes very hard. And so, and the race like that in Ironman also exposed that, like, I just don't want to be alone with my thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It's just very hard. It's
Yeah.
just, and so it's becoming a little easier now, as I've instituted a 3 minute practice, which is more than zero. One of John's favorite words is
Yep.
some beats none, right?
Yep.
And so 3 minutes is better than 0 minutes. And that's for every goal, right? Um, so I've been making some progress, but it still takes me the effort. It hasn't become automatic of like,
No.
hey, let me go do the dishes without anything in my ear and actually just hear the clanging of the dishes, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been really intentional in trying that. Do I fail? Constantly, right? But at least now I have the the knowledge or the awareness that that needs to be better.
Yep.
And I even told my wife, I said, a lot of people's problems could be solved if they spend 12 hours with no input in their ears.
Oh yeah.
And there's a book I think called 12-Hour Walk by Colin O'Brady, where, and he is crazy. He's done, not saying crazy. He's accomplished a lot of hard feats, you know. Um, and he has a book called The 12-Hour Walk, where he just encourages you to leave your house and go for a 12-hour walk. And he talks about all the benefits. Um, and I read it and I thought it was good, but I'm like, I don't feel like I need it, you know.
No.
I can solve a little bit of these problems without a 12-hour walk. But when I was in the woods for 12 hours, I was able to solve a lot of problems. And just
Yeah.
by creating more self-awareness, because you are forced to face your thoughts. There's no way about it.
Yep.
unless you just want to crawl under the tree and just cry for the 12 hours you're supposed to be running. You're going to have to
Yeah.
face them if you want to finish it. And so I told my wife too, I said, mile 17 to 25, those were the hardest mentally and physically. But after mile 30, I actually started running faster. Like I actually, once I worked through all of the things that were going in my mind, I became better. I think my body realized that I wasn't going to give it a break. And it was like, I guess I'll just succumb to this pressure and just keep going, you know? So by the end, I was running uphill. Like I was actually
Yeah.
sprinting uphill, making up time. When even not even halfway through the race, my body was cramping and all of that. So mindset is key in,
Yep.
and I think it so easily translate to life and any other goal that you may
Oh,
have.
absolutely. Well, I was just going to say that's a great metaphor for or parallel for all the goals that I've ever tried to accomplish. Right? You're excited. You've got the motivation. And in fact, it's just like a running a marathon, which is my least favorite race to run. But you're excited. There's people around you, right? And you hit it. You go out with a bang, right? You take off running
Yep.
faster. You hit your goals. Maybe you want to work out 30 minutes a day. You work out 45 because this is great. And
Yep.
then somewhere in the middle, in the no man's land, the devil shows up and
Yep.
it is hard. Everything hurts. All my thoughts are negative. Right? There's no more people on the side of the road cheering
Yep.
you on. And if there is somebody, they're overweight, sitting in a recliner, drinking a beer, eating a hot dog, and I'm the most jealous, spiteful person because I want to be that David. Um,
Yep.
but then once you get past that dark area, which
Yep.
for me has always been a right around that 60%. So that middle third is the
Yep.
hardest. That
No
it
doubt.
that's when my runner's high always kicked in, and it was euphoric in a sense that like, yeah, I feel like I'm gliding at this point,
Yeah.
right? The thoughts come back and they're happy. Problems become small.
Yep.
Blisters are still there, but they feel like they go away.
Yep.
Um, but getting through that middle third has always been my challenge.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
what advice? Because I know you are help manager. You're the cruise ship director for the goal group, right? What advice do you give people when they get stuck and they hit that the beginning of
Yeah.
that middle third?
Yeah. So I think the biggest problem when we set goals, we see the start line and then we envision the finish line, and we don't set up any more checkpoints between the start line and the finish line. So we start and it's so exciting. There's people on the microphone and who is ready to rock and roll today, you know? And they'll get you through a few miles of the race or whatever the
Yep.
mileage is for your goal. Um, and then, you know, the last mile of a race is exciting because you can hear more crowd, you can hear the, right? But there is another 24 miles, if you say, where there's nothing going on. It is silent. People start getting tired and you see other people fall off the race.
Yeah.
I saw, when I did my Ironman, I saw people jump in the water, which is the first event of the Ironman, and then automatically swim to the
Jump
next
out.
boat
Yep.
and quit. And I was like, holy cow, this is too expensive for me to quit right here. Um, but that happens, right? Because you lose sight. You already lost the motivation from the start, but you have no idea how far you have to go to make it to the finish line. And so if you don't set up some checkpoints along the way, you're gonna get lost, and you're either gonna have to be David Goggins to just will yourself
Yeah.
to the finish just because you're David Goggins,
Yeah.
or you're most likely gonna quit. So we always instruct everyone in the goal community, set checkpoints, right? Track your actions. How many times did you take an action in that goal
Mm-hmm.
in the last month? Because those things you can control, you know.
Yep.
And if you're writing a book, right? If you start writing a book day one with a blank page, maybe you're excited and you just dreamed about this book that you're going to write and you can just start typing. But that takes months to finish a book, right? And if every day you wake up, you're comparing yourself, do I have a finished book? Do I not have a finished book? You're going to feel like a loser, right?
Yeah.
But if you can track, be like, okay, by next Friday, I'm going to have 3 chapters. And that's the next milestone. I'm not thinking about 18 chapters. I'm thinking 3 chapters. Then next
Yep.
Friday, I'm going to have 3 more chapters. And then the next Friday, I'm going to have 3 more chapters. It becomes a lot more doable. It just becomes more doable. And so, same thing with the race. And when I was running in the woods, you don't even get the benefit of those signs that say, hey, here's mile
Yeah,
3, mile 4. No, you're literally in the woods. Hopefully you didn't take a wrong turn. And you're
exactly.
just looking for those little flags on the trees that sometimes barely noticeable. Um, and so if you don't set yourself some milestones inside that goal, besides start and finish, you're going to get lost. And it's going to be very hard for you to finish that goal.
The Myopia Collective. Cooper Vision and the AOA have partnered in a groundbreaking initiative to change the way optometrists in the U.S. treat children with myopia. The purpose of the Myopia Collective is to rally the profession of optometry and its allies to interrupt the status quo and elevate the new standard of care for children with myopia. Every individual is encouraged to become a member of the collective. By joining, you commit to taking action to help slow the progression of myopia in children. You'll receive updates and information about the collective and its work in the fight against myopia, gain access to educational opportunities and resources offered by the collective, and hear from change agents, the ambassador optometrists selected to serve as advocates for community and policy change that facilitates the mission of the collective. Scan the QR code or click on the link in the show notes to join the collective today. In the past, our focus revolved around prescribing MacuHealth or MacuHealth Plus to patients at risk of macular degeneration, while also recommending it to collegiate and professional athletes for enhanced contrast sensitivity in sports performance. However, this year's introduction of the Life Meter has been a game changer. The Life Meter revealed a concerning truth. Many of my patients have alarmingly low skin carotenoid levels, indicating potential deficiencies in essential body tissues like the retina and brain. Supported by over 30 peer-reviewed publications, Life Meter's accuracy, consistency, and effectiveness has been demonstrated across 2,000 subjects with diverse backgrounds. With this newfound insight, I can now have meaningful conversations about carotenoid levels with all of my patients, even those who may seem outwardly healthy. To learn more about this empowering technology, feel free to contact your MacuHealth representative or click on the link in the show notes. Together, let's optimize patient care and elevate their well-being. I totally understand. I'm reading a book right now. We're actually going to do a book club, I think next week, on The Gap and the Gain. I don't know if you've
Okay.
read the book. Great
Yep.
book. And one of the I'm going back and rereading it, getting ready for the club. But it dawned on me is that if I took John's best moments list,
Yep.
that helped me understand what I value. But as I continue doing that, it gives me that ability to look back over what I've accomplished.
Yep.
And so I'm not looking forward to that finish line. I'm not there yet, a la being in the gap, right?
Yep.
I'm looking back on what I've accomplished because I've written them down to my best moments. Because at some point, hey, I felt good. I wrote 3 chapters this week, right?
Yep.
Or, hey, I only did 3 of the 5 workouts, but 2 of them were really good. And I just felt on top of it. Or I got through that really crappy workout and I'm proud of myself for muscling through it because finishing
Yep.
felt good. But
Yeah.
you can look back over that list, and not only does it help me feel better about understanding who I am, but it also is that historical track of what I've accomplished. And maybe I didn't accomplish everything in on the goal that I wanted to, but I did a bunch of other cool stuff too.
Yes.
And I got to make
Correct.
sure I remember those. And so having that foresight or hindsight rather is
Yeah.
has been helpful to know where I've come and using that motivation for the next day, the
No
next week,
doubt.
whatever I need.
No doubt. I think um, tracking all the actions that you take. Like, so I have a journal that I just track everything I did that day, right? So that when imposter syndrome kicks in, which that happens a lot with new goals that you're trying to accomplish, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I don't belong here. This is not, you know, you
Yep.
can look back. It's so easy for you to look back and be like, well, I do belong here. Like, I have trained for 6 months, and here's me checking off the workouts
Yeah.
for 5 days a week for 6 months. I am ready for this race,
Yep.
or hey, I don't think I am a good mom, whatever it may be, or a good
Yep.
dad. Hey, look at all the events I showed up to that maybe some other parents didn't show up to. Or hey, look how many meals I cooked at home, right? For my kids, and how many meals we set together at the table. Because yes, social media is has its
Horrible.
benefits, but golly, it just steals a lot of the joy that could come from just your day-to-day activities, right? Because you'll be you can be making your kids lunches in the morning, PB&J, which that's 97% of Americans eat
Yeah.
PB&J at school,
Yeah.
whatever. But then all you got to do is just go to Instagram, and you're going to see another parent that is color coding the kids' snacks, and it's
Yeah.
adding love notes, individually written love notes every single day
Yeah.
with something funny and a drawing, and then you feel like a loser.
Uh-huh.
Even 15 years ago, we didn't have that.
No.
15 years ago, you only compared yourself to the person living next to you, you
Yeah.
know, and like keeping up with the Joneses was a real thing because you just looked at your neighbor and you're like, oh, are they doing better or worse than me? Well, that's one or
Right.
two people. Now we literally have the entire planet at our disposal to compare ourselves to. And if we don't have some metrics for us to gauge our progress and then be able to review it, we're gonna get lost and we're gonna feel like we're failures.
I 100% agree. It's taking social media off my phone was one of the best things.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then I want to be a journal guy. I want to be able to write, but I've got lots of
Yeah.
journals that I've started the first 4
And,
pages.
and again, it could just be on your calendar, right? It can just
Yeah.
be you already have appointments, like you already have
Yeah.
things. You just schedule the workout on your calendar and
Yeah.
say from 12 to or 2, I'm going to be at the gym. And
Yeah.
that's fine.
That's
You
what I'm
can just
doing.
look back, right? That's better. It doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't have just I like checking things off. Like the physical
Yeah.
checking things off makes me feel better about myself. But I do it. But I know a lot of people inside even the John's community, everything is online.
Yeah.
It's spreadsheets or it's just on the calendar. So there, whatever works. But you got to have a record of
Yes.
what you've done because your brain will tell you that you're not good enough and that you haven't done anything. It's just the way our brain works is just biased towards the negativity more than the positivity.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I had a friend, a retired military guy, and he teaches now at a shooting school, and I enjoy that sport because I'm not good at golf, but I can shoot a different projectile, 800 yards away.
Yeah.
But he recommended when I first started working with him to build a brag book. It's like anytime you take a
Mm.
course, anytime you take like any certificates you get, anything you get,
Yep.
just add it to your brag book because then you can look back and just be like, look at all the cool things I've done.
Yep.
And I love how he talked about it. It wasn't what he called it a brag book because it immediately have that ego
No
boosting
doubt.
name to it, right? So you should your brag journal, your brag calendar, right? Have
Yep.
something to look
Yep.
back and go, look at all the cool things that I did.
No doubt. And that's when community comes in, a healthy community,
Hmm.
where now if you share your successes on social media, a lot of people are going to be like, must be nice, must be nice to be able to go to Spain for 2 weeks with your
Oh
family
yeah.
in the middle of the semester. Must be
Hmm.
nice.
Yeah.
And so when you have a community that is intentionally trying to lift each other up, you feel free to then share about the bragging things that you can brag about,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But if you're surrounded by toxic people that are just judging you, then you just feel like you shouldn't share because Joe next to me is struggling to pay rent and that's fine. Maybe we can be aware of Joe over here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I did something cool. Like I
Yeah.
should be able to brag about it. And so John, inside the community sometimes we have a brag table and it's based out on like the pirates where they would come from their journeys on their boats and they would go to the bar and put their one foot on the table and be able to brag about their discoveries or their journeys. That's what we're trying to implement a little bit more because it's hard for us to celebrate ourselves. It's sometimes easy to just celebrate other people, um, and then try to be like them. But sometimes you can celebrate yourself.
Yeah.
It's a great benefit, and if you surround yourself with people that are going to help you do that, even better.
Yep. One of the I remember when I read the all it takes to goal the first time. One of the key phrases that I think it was in that book when John brings up the oh it must be nice phrase, right?
Yeah,
And he just said yeah it is, and I
it
hope
is
you get to
nice.
discover it too. It is nice, right? And
Yeah,
being able to right the gift he gave me on having that expression to say back was amazing, and
yeah,
just empowering and freeing for me to I'm not belittling anything. I'm not comparing. It is. Right? It's
yeah,
fantastic. I've worked
no
hard for
doubt.
this. My
Yeah,
kid worked hard to
yeah,
get picked up on a team to go to Spain. Like that's
yeah,
fantastic. We drove
yeah,
forever to get her to practices, right? It's cool. It's
Correct. Like,
paying off.
yes,
It's nice.
yes, finally, yes.
Yeah.
Like you should, if you raise the kid for 18 years and she gets a college scholarship where you don't have to pay for anything or whatever,
Yeah.
you should be able to brag, because
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you're only seeing the scholarship announcement. You're not seeing the commuting, the crying in the car,
Oh yeah.
the like, yes, we succeeded. My parents got divorced when I was 5, right? And they had an amicable relationship,
Yep.
but they worked together, and to their props, that was really good of them. They really worked together to raise me, right? Even though they were separated. But the day they paid for my last college payment, the two of them alone went on a date to celebrate.
Absolutely.
And they both were married to other people.
Yeah.
And the two of them went to celebrate. Like, we did this.
As they
It
should. That's
was the
huge.
most awkward thing. And I was like, holy cow, good for you, because you did
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need to pay for any of my bills anymore. I'm a grown man. And so, yeah, so I think we need to surround ourselves with people that are encouraging us to brag. Life is hard.
Yeah.
Anyone's life is hard. Jeff Bezos' life is hard. Elon Musk's life is really hard.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it must be nice to be Elon Musk. No, you don't want to be Elon Musk. You have no idea.
Oh, I 100%.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we're doing. It doesn't matter what jobs we have. It doesn't matter what goals we're trying to pursue. It's going to be hard. If it's worth something, if it matters, it will be hard. And so setting up, little boundaries, being able to celebrate, setting up milestones, checkpoints along the way, all those things help you overcome the middle part where you're just like, oh man, this is dragging, right? Because even in parenting, you could go from age 7 to 14 and you're like, holy cow, when is this going to end? Like, we've already taught them how to walk and, go to the bathroom and doing all of that.
Yeah.
Now they just got to live themselves, hopefully make good choices. And then, and then it just goes through this middle period where
Yeah, we call that period middle school.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's called middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of patience to be learned during that period.
No doubt.
That's
So it's, I think, when we started talking about running, but, it has lessons. And so if you're struggling with anything, go for a run, go for a walk. If you can't run, go for a walk, extended period of time without input.
Yep.
You're going to start having to face some of those thoughts. You're going to have to think through your life a little bit. But I think you will be able to start sorting a lot of those issues out.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you do it enough times, hopefully you're able to celebrate that with some friends and families. But just keep taking steps forwards. Keep taking steps forwards, and then never forget to review, because as part of John's, the 4-part plan is, you dream. That's your best moments list. You can look back and say, like, what do I want to accomplish? And then you have your plan, which, how am I going to accomplish this dream? The actual doing of the dream, of the plan, and then always reviewing back. Is this working? Is this not working? Is this working? Is this not working? And those things can be macro, like every year you do a review, or it can be almost in a day. Hey, today I'm going to do this. When am I going to do it? Did I do it? Did it work or not? Did it not work? Do I need to do it again tomorrow?
Yep.
And so those little things would help any type of goal, right? If you're trying to write a book, lose weight, run a marathon, be a soccer player, it doesn't matter what it is. You will be in good shape. You would be better shape than most people at that point.
Definitely. Well, here's one that's a challenge too, is that because for self goals, you can only look in the mirror on your own self to drive them, right?
No doubt.
I'm running an office, optometric practice, and so I've got goals that I assign my team to. Right? They're not their goals; they're my goals. So they're projected goals, they're assumed goals, whatever the case is. And on any team I've been on, if I wasn't the one, leading the ship, I had a different way of thinking on how things should be done. It's human nature, and so I have a fantastic team, but I've always struggled helping them, one, see the vision that I have, but two, accomplish the vision, whether they saw it or not. Right? Because either way, you've got to get to where you need to go, even if it's not the path that they would have chosen.
No doubt.
And so we've come up with some things in the office that I think work pretty well. I'd love to bounce off you and then also hear your
Yeah.
inputs on those. So what we did is we've got percentage goals we want to meet,
Got
so
it.
much over
Yep.
next year and growth and whatnot.
Revenue.
Um,
Yep.
and we found that it was really hard to take those percentage goals and plan them out over a month, because 30 days is a long time. And so the goals, right? The first week we were excited. The middle 2 weeks
Yeah.
it was like, we can catch up, And by
Yeah.
the fourth
Yeah.
week, we're so far behind, we'll never get it. We'll go to next month. So what
Yep.
we instead did is we broke it down to something I call win the day. And so, hey, this is all we need to accomplish today. Right? We might look back on yesterday to say, hey, what did we do, or what can we change?
Yep.
But today never makes up for past mistakes or past,
Yep.
not failures, but not quite reaching the goal.
Sure.
Only today. And then I don't really care about tomorrow, other than, do I have enough patients to treat? That's the only goal looking forward.
Yep.
Is,
Sure.
is our schedule full? And
Yep.
so we've kind of found that focusing just on today
Yeah.
has been really easy, because now you can break down into bite-sized pieces,
Even smaller. Yeah.
into smaller.
No
And
doubt.
now their goals are just today goals. My goals are still the monthly goals, but their goals are just
Yeah. No
today
doubt.
goals
Yeah.
that we can celebrate. Thoughts on that? Have you seen something
Yeah.
similar
No.
or
I think
different?
that's perfect, right? So, you have a goal, let's say, of make $100 a month, right?
Yep.
You can say, first day of the month, you can be like, hey, we're gonna make $100 this month, and then you don't say anything. Day 31st, you show up, hey, did we make $100 today?
Yep.
And you never tracked it. You never followed up. You never told them how to make $100 in 1 month. So when you break it down, you're like, okay, we need to make $3 today, right? Did we make $3? Did we not make $3? That's it, right? That's the
Yep.
measure, because then you can go back on Monday. Did you make $3? Great. Tuesday, we got to make another $3. Did you make $3 on Monday? No. So what do we need to change? You can make a review right there,
Yep.
right? And be like, what can we do for you to make $3 on Tuesday? Not to make $6 on Tuesday.
Right. Just the 3 on
right?
Tuesday.
It's the $3 right there. So I think that, again, it goes to every goal, right? I want to run 100 miles in May. Okay. What does that break down to? Is it 100 miles in 1 day? Because you can do that. I did half of it in 1 day, right?
Yeah.
Or if we want to be sustainable, is it 3 miles every day? 3 miles every day, much more doable. And even if you miss a few days, you're still going to be close to 100 miles.
Yeah.
Maybe you missed it, and then build some margin, right? Build some margin into those goals. Build some margin into that win the day, so that even when you don't win it that day, you're still in good shape for the rest of the month, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I think that's the key, is figuring out how can I build that margin on the ultimate goal. And John talks about, like, just add 20% or just add 10% to that goal, because just in case you don't get there, you're still going to get to your 100% goal that you ultimately had. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then, when you do have those win the day motion or moments, you can just address it with them right away. And it gives you that accountability of, hey, I know you didn't pick the goal of making $100 this month, but the goal was just $3 today. Why did you not do it? If you did it, hey, can you share it with so-and-so? Can you just give them some tips? I think, again, I keep repeating myself, but it's critical. The moment you have a lot of checkpoints along the way, it's just easy opportunities to review and see if it's working. If you don't have any checkpoints, if you have no way to measure your progress, then you can't have it. You're just hoping that it's going to happen. And that's what John talks about, guaranteed goals, is there's no way you're not going to achieve that goal if you're tracking consistently, all the time. So whatever that goal is, find the smallest piece of action you can take that will still help you achieve that goal within the time frame that you have, and just nail that every single day, and just go for it. And you'll see, it's incredible. It really is. And I'm hoping that 6 months from now, my family can say, wow, Gian, you're a better father and husband, And 6 months from that moment, I would have been like, holy cow, I'm a terrible father. Because that's what I was thinking in the woods.
Yeah.
Like in the woods, I was like, holy cow, I've applied so much time to train and so much dedication and discipline to achieve this incredible feat that very few people in the world are able
Oh
to do
yeah.
it. And I'm like, holy cow, what if I just apply that to my
To them.
relationships?
Yeah.
Like, because nobody else can parent my kids besides me and my wife. David Goggins can go run those 50 miles for me. Like, he can do it, but nobody can parent my kids,
Yeah.
you know? And so, or be married to my wife. And so it's whatever that goal is, you got to have the clarity of mind to know why it is important. And maybe you as a leader of that business have to be really clear with the staff. This is why we want to make $100 this month,
Yep.
right? And sometimes we don't want to because it may seem selfish, or maybe we feel like they are not going to understand. But like clarity is kindness, right?
Oh, I
Like
like that.
they much rather know what the goal is and the reason behind the goal than for you to just walk into the meeting and say, all right, everybody, May's goal is $100.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are we going to do with the $100? Like, do we get a bonus if we get $100? Do we reinvest in the company if we get $100? Do we get a day off in June if we get $100? You know,
Yeah.
just be very honest with them, because if you can't be that honest, that goal is probably just like an ego goal. You know, it's like, oh, I want to make $100 so I can tell my friends at the next conference I make $100 a month. My business makes, and then you're gonna have turnover constantly.
Yeah.
If that's your reasoning for trying to make $100 a month, um, you're just gonna it's just an ego trip out there, and you're just using your employees. But if you explain it to them, and this is something I've worked hard in my full-time job as a director of operations, is explaining to the people underneath me who are doing the grunt work of booking hotels and flights. And sometimes it's like, why are we even doing this? Like, we don't get to go on these flights, we don't get
Yeah.
to go on these trips. But it's like, hey, you should take pride in the moment that food is served at the right time, and they haven't messed up that order because you reached out to the restaurant 3 times. That's your win. And
Yeah.
so now when they win the match the next day, you can say they were well fueled,
Yeah.
right? They had the hotel had no bed bugs, and like the breakfast was great, and and that's your win. And you can take pride in they were well rested, they were well fed, and you made that happen.
Yeah.
The coach didn't even make that happen. It
No.
didn't matter who your coach is. If they didn't sleep and they didn't eat, there's no coach in the world that can make you play.
Yeah.
so
No.
so explaining the why they do the things they do is very important as you're talking to the people that are working for you.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think sharing what you're learning along the journey and pulling people along
No
with you.
doubt.
And
Yes.
I know you got to jump here in a minute, but as we close, I just wanted to share one thing with you.
Yeah.
So my sister, who I'm really close with, called me and said, "Hey, her oldest 10-year-old son, is 10-year-old struggling, and hey,
Yeah.
do you have any advice for him?" And he likes to read, so I sent him a copy of soundtracks and wrote in it,
Okay.
and then he and I would have weekly calls to just talk
That's
about
awesome.
what he read and whatnot. And I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'm actually bringing him on Friday to record a podcast. He's super excited
Cool.
to get on. But I did just want to share this picture with you. She sent me because he's trying to learn this new window, or this new world that he's in, and
Yeah.
but they went to the public library, and I don't know if you can see this picture I just threw up on the
That
screen.
is
But
unbelievable.
he went to the librarian on his own. He snuck away from his mom and said, "Hey, I really like this author, John Acuff. Do you have anything else that I can read from him?" And so it looks like the next book that he and I are reading together is finished. So I need to order that. But she
There
just
you
sent me
go.
that yesterday. And
Yep.
but I don't think that we appreciate the impact that we have when we share our journeys and our struggles with others, and then reach to help them, and then celebrate their wins, and share our wins and our struggles with them. Even if it's a 10-year-old nephew, right? It's
Yes.
the
Yeah.
impact that it's had, and it's had a huge impact on me. I know it's impacted him, and I'll let him share why when we record that. But so thank you guys for what you do and for this community and for sharing all these cool insights that just help us all, be happier and live better lives.
Yeah, and I think the whole point of setting up goals, and we are very busy. Both of you and I were just talking off camera, just how chaotic our calendars are. But finding, when we have the best moments list and we can look back, what is truly important, we can use it as a filter to shape what our calendar looks like and what kind of goals we want to pursue. And so my goal also is to just build some margin in my calendar so that when someone unexpected reaches out to you and say, hey, can we just go out to lunch? I have that margin to say, yes, I actually can,
That's cool.
And that will be much more impactful. That hour lunch, an hour and a half lunch will be much more impactful to their lives, to our lives, to the world than me going on a run for an hour and a half,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wouldn't have figured that out unless I had gone on a run for an hour and a half millions of times in a row when I'm by myself with my thoughts and start assessing those things in my life. So I'm not saying people don't take some me time. That's not what I'm saying. Yep. You need the me time to make yourself think, but make sure that me time is me time, not quality. Me and someone else, me and someone in my ear blaring music, or think and take some time, even if you have to schedule in your calendar, schedule a time to go think or to just go on a outdoor walk with no inputs.
Have a date with yourself.
That's right, and go find some clarity on what's most important to you, and then start setting up those little checkpoints along the way to achieve those goals.
I love it. Well, Gian, thank you for making time. Yeah. And awesome. I know you're at the end of the school year, so go do the end of the school year kid stuff.
That's part of me trying to be a better father and husband.
I love it. So.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron.